In an unknown era, the story was passed down from generation to generation. Legend has it that there was a wealthy man named Mr. Zheng, who had abundant wealth and was not concerned about anything except for one thing. He and his wife had been married for most of their lives, but hadn't been blessed with a son, only a daughter who was as beautiful as a flower. Mr. Zheng considered her a precious gem, and his wife cherished her dearly. One day, a young lady who was similar in age, figure, and appearance to Miss Zheng came to Mr. Zheng's house. She introduced herself as Miss Wang and said she had come specifically to visit Miss Zheng. Impressed by the young lady's good looks and manners, Mr. Zheng decided to let her stay as a companion for his daughter. The two young ladies became very close. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. One day, Miss Wang invited Miss Wang to her house to play. Seeing how close they were, Mr. Zheng agreed to their outing. After they had walked a short distance, Miss Wang said, "Miss Zheng, this route is difficult to traverse. Since you're not familiar with the way, close your eyes, and I will carry you for a while." Miss Zheng closed her eyes and felt a gust of wind before she knew it. Unbeknownst to her, Miss Wang was actually a white snake spirit. Miss Zheng didn't return for several months. Worried about their daughter, Mr. and Mrs. Zheng sent their servants to bring her back. However, the servants couldn't find Miss Zheng anywhere and returned empty-handed. Mr. Zheng panicked and promptly dispatched 3 courageous and resourceful individuals to find their daughter. These 3 people were named Fu Jiao, Yu Shen, and Fan Yua. Before they set off, Mr. Zheng called them and gave them detailed instructions. He provided them with some silver as provisions and said, "Whoever finds my daughter will be promised her hand in marriage." He also gave them a pair of jade rings, which were Miss Zheng's favorite, as proof. The 3 individuals searched everywhere, but they couldn't find any trace of Miss Zheng. One day, while they were passing through an old forest in a deep mountain, they overheard some elderly people talking. The elderly mentioned that a few months ago, a strong wind blew in from an unknown direction, carrying a beautiful woman, accompanied by a white snake, towards the east. Upon hearing this, Fen Jiao and the others concluded that Miss Zheng must have been taken away by the white snake spirit. They decided to search in the direction mentioned by the elderly. After a long and arduous search, they finally arrived at a cliff with a large black hole. They devised a plan and went to the town to hire a blacksmith to forge several sharp knives. They bought a bamboo basket, a rooster, and a long rope. They placed the knives on the entrance of the hole, then put the rooster inside the basket, hanging the basket with the rope in front of the hole. When it was time for the rooster to crow, it started crowing. The white snake, who was famished, heard the sound of the rooster and rushed to the entrance of the hole. As it leaned forward, it didn't notice the knives and ended up with its head cut open. After a while, there was no movement from inside the hole, so they prepared to go down and rescue Miss Zheng. However, the cliff was too high, and none of them wanted to descend. They hesitated and pushed each other until Fan Yua, who had a kind heart and great courage, volunteered to go down. Fen Jiao and Yu Shen used the bamboo basket to lower Fan Yua into the hole. Once inside the hole, Fan Yua was startled to find the white snake dead on a bed, and Miss Zheng crying beside it. He explained their purpose to Miss Zheng and presented the pair of jade rings. Upon seeing the rings, Miss Zheng burst into tears and embraced Fan Yua. She was deeply grateful to him for saving her life and decided to give him one of the jade rings as a symbol of their engagement. At that moment, Fen Jiao and Yu Shen shouted from above, urging them to come up quickly. The bamboo basket was small and could only carry one person at a time. They deliberated on who should go up first. After much persuasion, Miss Zheng insisted on going up first. When she reached the top, Fen Jiao and Yu Shen, who had already harbored ill intentions, sent her away and threw the basket down the cliff, intending to leave Fan Yua to starve in the cave. Back at Mr. Zheng's house, he asked, "Why hasn't Fan Yua returned?" Yu Shen quickly replied, "Fan Yua fell off the cliff while rescuing Miss Zheng." Mr. Zheng was a man of integrity and honored his promises. He mourned the loss of Fan Yua and held a funeral to pay his respects. However, deep down, he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. Meanwhile, Fan Yua was trapped in the cave, with no means of escape. He felt betrayed by his companions but refused to give up hope. Determined to survive, he searched the cave and discovered a hidden passage leading to a secret chamber. Inside the chamber, Fan Yua found a magical artifact, a pearl that emitted a soft glow. Sensing its power, he knew it could be his ticket to freedom. He carried the pearl and ventured further into the cave, encountering numerous obstacles along the way. As Feng Yue persevered, he discovered that the cave was not just a random dungeon, but a labyrinth guarded by mythical creatures and spirits. With his wits and courage, he overcame each challenge, relying on the pearl's magic to aid his journey. Meanwhile, Miss Zhang, who had been kept in the dark about Feng Yue's fate, started to suspect foul play. She couldn't believe that Feng Yue would abandon her or fall off the cliff. Determined to find the truth, she began investigating on her own. Using her intelligence and charm, Miss Zhang gathered information and uncovered the truth behind Feng Yue's disappearance. She confronted Feng Diu and Yushuan, who were caught off guard by her determination and resourcefulness. Realizing their deceit had been exposed, they confessed to their treacherous actions. Filled with anger and grief, Miss Zhang confronted her father, Mr. Zhang. She demanded justice for Feng Yue and accused her father of turning a blind eye to the truth. Mr. Zhang, remorseful and shocked by the revelations, realized his mistake and vowed to make amends. Together, Miss Zhang and Mr. Zhang set out to find Feng Yue and rectify the injustice that had befallen him. They retraced the steps taken by Feng Diu and Yushuan, eventually reaching the cliff where Feng Yue had been left behind. To their surprise, they found Feng Yue alive and well, standing at the entrance of the cave. He had successfully navigated the labyrinth, using the pearl's magic to overcome the challenges. Overjoyed by his survival, Miss Zhang and Feng Yue embraced each other, their love stronger than ever. Mr. Zhang, deeply remorseful for his initial doubts and the mistreatment Feng Yue had endured, apologized sincerely. He recognized Feng Yue's bravery and the depth of his love for Miss Zhang. In a ceremony witnessed by the heavens, Mr. Zhang bestowed his daughter's hand in marriage to Feng Yue, fulfilling his promise. The couple, accompanied by Mr. Zhang, returned to their village, where they were celebrated for their resilience and the triumph of love over treachery. Feng Diu and Yushuan, consumed by guilt and shame, were banished from the village, left to contemplate their actions. From that day forward, the tale of Miss Zhang and Feng Yue served as a reminder of the importance of trust, loyalty, and the power of love. Their story became an enduring legend, passed down for generations, inspiring others to overcome adversity and cherish the bonds that unite them. The cowherd boy first let the girl go, but he didn't let down the rope after waiting for a while. He suspected that the girl and her companion, who had been blessed with fair weather and good fortune, had turned malicious and were no longer in a hurry to escape the cave. They even caught a rooster to satisfy their hunger, plucking its feathers and eating it raw, and then played around in the cave. The cowherd boy thought that since he was going to die anyway, he might as well take a look around the cave and perhaps survive a few more days. He climbed and climbed, not knowing how long he had been climbing, and suddenly saw a glimmer of light ahead. He groped his way towards the light, and it turned out to be a cave entrance. As soon as the cowherd boy emerged from the cave, he looked at the mountain in the light of the moon and walked forward. After walking for a while, he came across a wealthy household. Everyone in the house was crying loudly, but he was too hungry to care whether they were crying or laughing, so he knocked on the door. Strangely enough, as soon as he knocked, the people in the house stopped crying and welcomed him with open arms, treating him to a feast and calling him their savior. The cowherd boy didn't know what was going on. The owner of the house explained, "When my wife was pregnant with my son, she must have violated some rule. He was scheduled to be executed at midnight. If he wasn't executed, 100 strangers would have to come tonight to save his life. 99 have already come, and with midnight approaching, where else in this wild mountain can we find anyone? Thanks to your arrival, you saved my son's life. Your kindness is as heavy as a mountain. How can we neglect you?" The cowherd boy stayed at this house for a night and wanted to leave early the next morning. The family couldn't bear to let him go and urged him to stay longer, but he had to go because he was thinking of the girl. The family had no choice but to offer him some gifts, but the cowherd boy refused them all. The owner of the house said, "If you lack anything, just take it." It turned out that the revived boy had told the cowherd boy the night before, "My father is going to give you something, but don't take anything except the winter melon on the roof beam." So the cowherd boy said to the owner, "If you insist on giving me something, please give me that winter melon on the roof beam." The old man never thought he would want that treasure and was reluctant to part with it. In the end, he had to grit his teeth and say, "You can call it yourself. If it falls down, you can take it." The cowherd boy shouted, winter melon, come with me." Strangely enough, the winter melon fell down with a swish in front of him. The old man told him, "The winter melon is a treasure. We made our fortune with it. If you're hungry, tired, or need anything, just call winter melon, and you'll get what you want." The cowherd boy thanked the host and walked for a while. He was hungry, so he tried calling out, winter melon, I'm hungry. The winter melon disappeared with a swish. And a table full of food and drink appeared. As soon as he finished eating, the winter melon disappeared again with a swish. When he was tired from walking, he said, "Winter melon, I'm tired." The winter melon turned into a good horse and carried the cowherd boy away. When he arrived at the gate of the rich man's house, he saw that the house was decorated with lights and festoons because the girl was marrying the rich man's son with good weather and good fortune. The cowherd boy was so angry that he wanted to punish the two bad guys. But he didn't want to wrong the girl. So he threw the jade ring into the girl's room from the window and gave it to her. He went to the dam opposite the rich man's gate and said to the winter melon, "Winter melon, I'm getting married tonight. Please build me a 48-room house with gold bricks and jade columns." Then he lay down and fell asleep. When the cowherd boy woke up, a house made of gold bricks and jade columns had indeed been built. And he had brought all the people who were drinking at the rich man's house over. The cowherd boy warmly greeted them and said that he was also going to hold a wedding. The news spread, and the bad guys, the girl, the rich man, and his son all came to see what was going on. When the girl saw the cowherd boy, she was overjoyed and ran up to him. The cowherd boy asked her, "Do you still remember the jade ring I gave you?" The girl nodded and said, "Yes, I do. It's always with me." The cowherd boy said, "Then you should also remember the promise you made to me." The girl understood what he meant and felt ashamed. She apologized to the cowherd boy and begged for his forgiveness. The cowherd boy said, "I don't blame you. Let's forget the past and start anew." The two of them got married, and the wedding was grand and festive. The bad guys, the rich man, and his son were all ashamed of their actions and apologized to the cowherd boy. The cowherd boy forgave them and even gave them gifts. The winter melon, which had been the cowherd boy's treasure, disappeared after the wedding. The cowherd boy and the girl lived happily ever after in their beautiful house. From then on, they always remembered to keep their promises and be kind to others.